Hello everyone, my name is Vicky and this is my very first layout for Scrapbook.com, and I'm very excited to use some of their exclusive products. So let's see what I have. So this first set is a Pocket Life set of cards and they're called Growing Up So Fast, and they're perfect for back to school Pocket Life, or in my case scrapbooking. I'm going to use those on a scrapbook layout, so we'll come to that shortly. This is a little multicolour cardstock set, which is great, fab, bright colours. We have a sticker book which has lovely sayings in it which go really well with all sorts of occasions, and an alpha. And then we've got the pops of colour in glitter gold or gold glitter. A great stencil which is blocks of stripes, and then some fabulous alphabet dies. We've got uppercase, lowercase and a number set there. Oh, and finally we have the washi tape, which is a very wide mint washi tape and it's 4 inches. This is really nice to work with. So let's get stuck into a layout. What I'm going to do is I want to use the stencil to put some stripes on my page, but I don't want them to be uniform at the end. What I want to do is to have them end unsquare on the edge, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do here is, at the moment I'm just sticking the stencil down without really thinking too clearly about it. But what I realise is that if I use the torn edge of this washi tape, I can make my edge non-straight, if you see what I mean, if that makes sense at all. You'll see what I mean as I go. So the other end I'm going to end straight, and this end I'm ending on washi tape. So I've got a distress oxide here, and this is called Faded Jeans, I think. Let me just check that. Yes, Faded Jeans. And what I do is I stamp it onto my glass mat and then spray some water on it. What I want to do here is I want to have a much more watercoloured effect going on for the stripes that I'm creating. So I use this little sponge dauber here to put it on through the stencil, and that one comes from Scrapbook.com too. So it's very nice. They're very, very spongy. I really like those. So I'm just going to go within the stencil on each line and go through like that. So by the power of video, I've skipped through that so that you can see how that comes to the end. I just moved the stencil down, repositioned it, and then carried on stamping. And you can see at the left edge now that it's very wavy, it's not completely uniform, and that was the effect I was looking for. So that's dry now, and what I want to do is use this washi tape again, but this time it's going to stay on the layout. I want to put a strip down the straight edge of the stenciling that I've just done. So I just tear a piece off, and the torn edge will face to the right side. So I've got 2 rough edges, one with washi and one with ink. So that sticks down nicely on there. I perhaps should have waited for the paint to dry, or the ink to dry just a little bit more, but it's fine. Now it's dry, it looks all flat, so that's good. I'm just going to trim the edges so that you can you could actually fold those over as well, but this is not super sticky, this washi, so I wanted to cut it off because I thought it may come unstuck underneath. Okay, so that's my base now. I didn't need a pattern paper because I have this effect going on with the ink and the washi. And now I'm going to, I think, pull out the pops of colour. Yep, so I'm going to put the stencil back on, just roughly in place. I'm going to put a bit of the pops of colour onto each section. Okay, so there we are, just squirting a bit out onto each row there. I'm just putting it in slightly different places, but they're not going to stay like this, and you'll see what I'm going to do in a second. So I've got this silicone brush, and I'm just going to brush the pops of colour through onto the stencil. So it's not the whole line, and it's very subtle, but it just brushes it through like that. And I'm just going to move the stencil down just like I did with the ink, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And I've still got some on my silicone brush, so I didn't need to reapply there. So there we go. And I let that dry, and then I'm ready to assemble my layout. So this is where the things start to speed up so that you don't have to watch everything that's happening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take out these pocket life cards, and I want to use some of these little pieces that are on the cards to put onto my layout. So I'm just going to fussy cut them, and I'm going to start by fussy cutting just this backpack and shoes, and then I'm going to do lots of other things, and the video is going to skip through that so that you don't have to watch me cutting lots of different things out. But there we go, power of video, we're through the fussy cutting phase. So this is the assembly part of the layout really, because I've got most of what I want prepared, and I'm going to start putting everything together. So I want to make my title, and I know I want it to be School Rocks. And I've taken out this cardstock book, and I'm going to take out a deep grey, bluey grey colour to do my title so that I know it really pops off the page. And so these are the alpha, lowercase alpha dies, and they're stuck to the page there. So I'm going to pull them off, each one that I need, obviously, and put them on the page. Now, some of the letters are repeated in School Rocks, so I have to do them twice, but yeah, you'll see how this goes. These dies actually are really fabulous. They've got the nice sticky bit to keep them on so that they don't all fall around the page, but also they cut beautifully. And I just used my Big Shot, and I just put them through, wound it back, and they were perfectly cut. And there's a nice little hole in each of the dies that you can use a pokey tool and poke the letter out. So there we go, that's my letters all prepared and ready to go. And again, by the power of video, there they are cut at the bottom. Beautifully cut. They're very delicate letters, but they came out beautifully. Okay, so I'm going to start layering up my photo here. I've used some more of that cardstock that I made the letters from. And this is going onto a pocket life card. It's got some of the mint on that card, so I wanted that to show on the layout to match the washi. And I've got all these little pieces that I cut out earlier, and they look really cute layered around the photo. So, so that's what's happening there. The photos are of my niece on her first day of school, so this was a few years ago. It's not a recent photo, but I thought it was super cute, and I hadn't scrapped it yet, so yeah, I thought I would use it. Okay, so I'm going to start thinking about sticking things down, and I'm just using a little tape runner there to stick my photos to the back, to the mats. And that little tool is just an edge distresser, sorry, that I have in my stash that I'm just distressing the edge with to add a bit of extra texture. So this is a big pocket life card that I'm putting down on the bottom underneath the photos, and you don't see much of that on the final layout, but it's there as a little mat to keep them together. And I'm just using foam pads to pop up one of the photos. And I'm also going to use foam pads on some of the little pieces that I've cut out. I like to overlap the photo slightly with some of my photos, with some of my embellishments, sorry. I just think it adds a little bit of extra dimension and interest to it. And I'm not covering anything important on the photo, so I'm fine with that happening. It's good if you've got some white space you want to cover. You know, if you've got something in the corner that you don't want to see, it's nice to have an embellishment to cover it. Okay, so sticking that down. And you'll see with that paint set there, that was actually not an entire paint set, but because I tuck it behind my photo, you can't see that, and it works really well. And that's the same with any embellishment. If you just got part of an embellishment, consider poking it out from behind a photo, because it just will, you'll never know it was only a piece. And similarly, if you're going to tuck something underneath and it's quite big, consider cutting it in half and using the other half somewhere else. That's especially a good idea with flowers, I find. Okay, so I've got these stickers here and I'm going to put those down. That one says "For the Record." And then I'm going to use these gorgeous goldy coppery letters, and I'm going to put ABC on the books there, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 on the book bag. And that just adds to the school theme. And then I've got another sticker that says "Precious Moments," which I'm going to pop in there. And they've got the goldy coppery colour on them, so they tie everything in together really well. So I'm going to stick down my letters, and I do make a bit of a mess of myself here. This glue is from Scrapbook.com as well, and it's, let me just find it here, it's called Smart Craft Glue, and it's really nice. It dries completely clear, and it's got a little nozzle that's easy to squirt out the glue. I just made a bit of a mess to start with because it was my first time using it and I hadn't practiced. So I would recommend, if you're used to any other kind of glue, just have a little practice first, because it comes out so easily that I was squeezing too hard to start with and got sticky fingers. But there we go. That is the final layout. I do hope you have enjoyed my process and learned something from me, and I hope to be back again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.